Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we've got another exciting project on our hands, and we're going back to the epic Hail Caesar new range from Warlord Games, and this time we're going to be painting the Britons, sort of stereotypically in their blue war paint. So I'm quite excited about this one, especially seeing as I am Briton. So let's get into it, shall we? And so that you'll always be updated when new content's released, do please like, subscribe, and also join us on Facebook, so that way you'll always see when there's new content being added. Plus you'll be able to share your photos of your projects that you're working on at the moment. So the first thing you're going to need to do is get your preparation sorted. For these you're going to need some clippers, craft knife, paints, paint brushes, spray paints, and some sort of area to work in. Don't worry too much about it being immaculate. As you can see, my tabletop is, well, my mat I should say, is pretty mucky, but that's the whole point of it. It keeps the counter itself clean. Paints, I have a mixture of different brands, so again you don't need to be brand specific, just go with what works for you. I will be base coating these in a black. So first up, this time we're going to be using flesh. I've made mine using a mix of Game Colours Bone White and Game Colours US Field Drab. For this base coat, it's kind of a darker tan colour, which I think works quite nicely, and then it picks out later when we do our highlighting. Just a question to all of you guys. Have you got your hands on any of the epic Hail Caesar yet? Are you planning to? If you are, which nation would you be most interested in building for your armies? So what I'm doing here is obviously doing the flesh. I'm using a medium brush, just kind of splodging it in. It's the first colour, so it doesn't really matter. Just make sure you get all of the arms, all of their backs. These guys are half naked, most of them, so just make sure you give them a good coverage. So I am going for that sort of stereotypical Rome Total War Britons using the blue coloration. So for that we're going to be doing magic blue from Game Colour for their shields and the cloth. I guess it harks back to when I was a kid playing Rome Total War. I always think, the Britons, they're the blue ones, the Gauls, they were the green ones. I think the Germans were kind of like a reddy brown. Completely historically inaccurate, but it's singed or seared into my mind. So for this project I'm kind of making a Rome Total War inspired Briton force. Comment down below as to what your opinions are on that. Would you say that it's historical heresy, or do you actually think it's kind of a cool idea? Yeah. Anyway, yeah, let me know down below. On top of that, I've broken up the blue with a bit of white and a bit of brown as well. Next up we've got the woodwork, so that's the spear poles specifically, but also I've done a few of the bits of clothing as well, and we're using Game Colours Leather Brown for these parts. As I've said in other videos, and this for the first time if you are just tuning in for the first time, with the smaller scale I find do your first coat using a slightly brighter colour than you ordinarily would think, especially if you're used to painting larger miniatures, because once you put your wash on it'll dull it down. Then with this technique that I use, we can then use the original colour to go back in to do the highlighting, and it saves you having to have 2 or 3 or 4 different colours to build up the layers, so it's a much faster process and cheaper because you don't need all the different paints. And next up we've got all the metal parts, so we're going to be using Game Colours Bright Bronze and Game Colours Silver. Again, they're quite bright colours, which is what we want, so we can dull them down. And we're going to be using these for the silver anyway, for the swords, the spears, some of the bosses on the shield, any of the sort of general metalwork that you can see. And the bronze colour, again, we're going to be using that on helmets and on some of the shield bosses. You can go crazy and you can use as much or as little as you want. Yeah, the options are there for you. You could also paint the trims of the shields. You can do all sorts. I'm just going for speed here, which is why I'm trying to just get a semi-uniform look on the troops without taking too much time. That's what it's all about for me, is speed painting, get these men onto the table so I can start wargaming. So for those of you, whether you're collecting the new game or not, what sort of armies are you working on? Could be in the historicals, could be modern, could be anything. Just yeah, if you've got an army that you're working on, comment down below just to let us know what your work in progress is. So at this point it's time to give them a dark brown wash. If you go and check out my video on the channel, that shows you how I make my own washes. And then it's time to go back in with the original colours once the wash has dried, and then we'll use those original colours to do the highlighting. At that stage you can also add in a few extras if you wish. And then we get to the fun bit, which is to put the basing on. So you can either go crazy, put clump foliage, twigs, tufts of grass, go the whole 9 yards, or you can quite literally, the bases come green, so you could just leave them green if you wanted to. You could just paint them green, or you could just apply sand and then paint the sand green, sort of go old school, the sort of thing that you'd see from Games Workshop back in the day. The bases, I find, if you do them well, really add to the miniatures and sort of bring the whole scene to life, but it's really up to you. And there we have them, our British horde ready to take on the Romans or any other tribal groups that have come their way. If you haven't already, do please like and subscribe, and also leave some comments down below on what you thought of the project. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the way these guys have come out. I like the way the shadings worked without too much effort. It was really quite just nice and easy. Yeah, I think the paint scheme, again, maybe not historically accurate, but it achieved what I was looking to achieve and gives me a Britons from Rome Total War army for the tabletop. So yeah, please leave some comments down below, and until next time guys, keep gaming.